I just saw this impressive chart when it comes to Polkadot, showcasing a very impressive statistic, in my opinion, even though nothing I say is financial advice. And I'll talk about the price of DOT, Polkadot's native token, later on after I talk about this. Because we take a look at, for instance, according to ChainSpect, they have this chart indicating 2026, and they say most active blockchains by developer activity. They just released this very recently, and guess who was ranked number second in the world in terms of this? It's something called the Polkadot ecosystem. So that's the thing, Polkadot, right? We have to consider overtook Ethereum at third place. We take a look at BNB Chain was fourth place. Again, Polkadot here was second place, overtook that, overtook Cardano. We take a look at Optimism, Arbitrum, even Bitcoin, surprisingly. Also, we take a look at Polygon, Sui, Near, Hedera, Aptos, ICP. We take a look at Base, Stellar. I mean, the only thing that beat out Polkadot actually in this chart is Solana. But I mean, Solana's way more popular. But again, this is not something that oftentimes people even take into consideration when it comes to Polkadot. It's just the charts usually, oh wow, DOT, it's below $3, it's below $2, all this. But the thing is this, we have to take a look at what it's actually doing in terms of developer activity. You know, keep in mind, right, at a time like this, it's very difficult to attract a lot of developers, in my opinion, usually from what I can see, because developers, they typically don't want to launch things when the market is not doing the best. Because let's take into consideration, when the market's not doing the best, developers oftentimes, they have to bring out a lot of resources, time, energy, and effort to launch something during a time when the market's not doing the best. A lot of them, the math just doesn't add up sometimes, right? They put all that effort and then it's being launched at a time when it's not doing the best. Sometimes they don't want to do that. But I still see this when it comes to Polkadot. I find this very impressive. So again, at a time when developers are really kind of trying to not launch things, typically, given the sentiment, we still see this when it comes to Polkadot. So I'm a fan of what Polkadot's doing overall. Polkadot, it's trying to connect blockchains together. It's focused on interoperability. It has a canary network called Kusama, and I'm also still a fan of that. And overall, do I think Polkadot's a bad project? No, I don't think so, personally in my mind. I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but this is the way to take a look at it. So when people like to tell me, oh, wow, you know, DOT, it's around 37 times lower than $50. Yeah, I get that. But the development activity, right, when it comes to Polkadot is still very impressive. So I feel like if developers don't really want to give up on this, I don't want to either, but this is just my mindset. However, if I take a look at it as well, I feel like Polkadot is improving, right? Because we take a look at Polkadot 2.0, we take a look at the tokenomics that got kind of cleared up recently, announcing how the maximum supply was going to be around 2.1 billion when it comes to DOT. And if I take a look at even just Polkadot 2.0, let's just say we don't take a look at anything else. That right there, I think, is just a telltale sign to me that it improved by quite a lot, especially when compared to 2021, because again, Polkadot 2.0, I just feel like that's actually a pretty impressive accomplishment in the grand scheme of things. It just doesn't really translate that to the charts because the market's not doing the best. But it doesn't mean that wasn't a big accomplishment. I feel like the project is improving, yet things are going down. But you know what? That's a buffet for me right there, if that's even an analogy that I would like to put, because I'd be very happy for dollar cost averaging reasons. If I'm looking to dollar cost average, my intent anyways is to preferably, right? And the keyword here is preferably, to be able to dollar cost average at a lower point. But I'm literally seeing that when it comes to DOT, it's literally below $2. But I feel like the project is improving, so I just don't want to give up. This is my mindset. So I'd be happier if I walked inside a store, let's say, in a random make-believe scenario. Doesn't have anything to do with this, but if I walked inside a store and my favorite pair of shoes had a discount, I'll be happy. Like, I'm not going to tell the store owner, or I'm not going to call, like, you know, Foot Locker and be like, oh, wow, I can't believe there's a discount in a make-believe scenario. I'm just saying. Like, there'd be no way I'd do that. But in this space, it sometimes doesn't really work that way, right? A lot of people out there that I know, they don't like it when the charts are down, but they like it if their shoes are having a discount. But sometimes I like to put two and two together in a sense where if I'm not complaining about the shoes having a discount, would I complain about this space having a pullback? I don't think I would. But this is just my mindset. However, I'm just only dollar cost averaging once a month though. I mean, I'm not doing like any more than that. I'm not doing any less than that either because I treat it like a marathon. It's not a sprint to me. I treat it more like a long-term type of thing. Like I knew by getting into this space, I was gonna probably have to wait for quite a while, so I'm not gonna be complaining if I originally thought that I'd have to wait quite a while anyways. It's like me swimming and complaining that I'm wet. Well, yeah, I decided to swim. What else did I expect? That's kind of like my mindset sometimes. I can't complain about something that I voluntarily decided to do, in which case I literally did voluntarily decide to dollar cost average into DOT. And again, I did it, by myself, right? In terms of, I'm not the only one, of course. DOT has over 1 million holders, but I voluntarily decided to do so. That's the thing. And actually, at $50, when it comes to DOT, we're taking a look at a current circulating supply, or should I say, let me correct myself there. Based on the current circulating supply of DOT, the market cap at that point would be around 8.3 billion. At, again, the price of $50, considering DOT's current circulating supply, which is just around what Dogecoin reached years ago, back in 2021 at one point. So, I mean, I don't know why this maybe sounds so ridiculous, but we'll wait and see, right? I can't know what's going to exactly happen, but it just wouldn't necessarily surprise me hypothetically if it maybe did. That's just kind of maybe my mindset. However, again, we're around 37 times lower than $50, but you know what? I'm looking to dollar cost average anyways, so I can't really complain, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything. If I'm trying to exit, I'd complain a lot, right? I'd be very upset. However, I'm not looking to do that, but I wanted to make this video to showcase this chart, or should I say this statistic that I saw recently, and I think it kind of highlights, I think sometimes, why Polkadot, I think, is still showing some activity despite the market not doing the best.